Billionaire in love with the janitor says, "Take me on your Harley," and his daughter says, "Daddy." Before anything else, if you're watching this from a place of struggle. Celeste Davenport pressed her forehead against the cool glass of her penthouse window, watching the Atlantic Ocean stretch endlessly before her like a mirror of her own emptiness. At 23 years old, she owned the Melbrook Hotel, a gleaming testament to luxury perched on the most exclusive stretch of Miami Beach. She had inherited it all when her husband Marcus died in a helicopter crash 18 months ago, along with the suffocating weight of a fortune she never asked for, and a marriage that had been more business transaction than love story. The penthouse was silent except for the whisper of the air conditioning and the distant crash of waves. 3,200 square feet of marble, glass, and designer furniture that felt more like a museum than a home. She lived alone in this palace, surrounded by art she didn't choose and memories she couldn't escape. Her phone buzzed on the glass coffee table. Another message from the board of directors requesting her presence at a meeting she had no interest in attending. Celeste had stopped pretending to care about quarterly earnings reports and expansion strategies. She showed up, she signed papers, she smiled for photographs, but inside she felt like she was drowning in shallow water. She studied her reflection in the window, hair still damp from her morning shower. Eyes that used to sparkle now looked tired, despite expensive creams and spa treatments. Her skin glowed bronze from hours spent lying by the pool, not because she enjoyed the sun but because it filled the empty hours between dawn and dusk. The knock at her door was unexpected. Celeste rarely had visitors and never unannounced ones. She crossed the vast living room barefoot, marble cold beneath her toes, and checked the security monitor. Her assistant Maria stood in the hallway, wringing her hands nervously. "Mrs. Davenport, I'm so sorry to disturb you," Maria said the moment Celeste opened the door. "But there's a situation downstairs in the main lobby. A guest spilled red wine on the white marble near the fountain, and our regular cleaning supervisor called in sick. The new maintenance worker is handling it, but Mr. Patterson from the penthouse suite is being difficult about the noise." Celeste sighed. This was exactly the kind of trivial crisis that somehow required the owner's intervention. "I'll come down. Give me 5 minutes." She changed into her usual uniform, blazer in royal blue over a white silk blouse, denim shorts that somehow looked elegant on her, and her favorite leather heels. The outfit was a careful balance between authority and approachability, though she felt neither. She pulled her hair back into a low ponytail and added small diamond earrings, the only jewelry she wore besides her wedding ring, which she still hadn't found the courage to remove. The elevator descent from the penthouse felt longer than usual. Celeste studied her reflection in the mirrored walls, practicing the expression of calm competence she had perfected over the past year and a half. The doors opened to reveal the Melbrook's spectacular lobby. Soaring ceilings, imported Italian marble, a cascading fountain that cost more than most people earned in a lifetime, and floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the ocean like living art. A small crowd had gathered near the fountain, and Celeste could hear Mr. Patterson's irritated voice before she saw him. But it wasn't the demanding guest that made her freeze in her tracks. It was the man on his knees beside the wine stain, wearing a maintenance uniform and yellow rubber gloves, his dark hair falling across his forehead as he worked methodically to clean the marble. Even before he looked up, Celeste knew. Something in the set of his shoulders, the careful precision of his movements, the way he seemed completely unbothered by Mr. Patterson's tirade happening 2 feet above his head. Then Ryan Walker raised his eyes, and 15 years collapsed into nothing. Celeste forgot how to breathe. She forgot where she was, forgot the carefully constructed identity she had built, forgot everything except the summer she was 14 years old, and a boy with kind eyes had taught her what it felt like to be seen for who she really was, rather than what she was worth. "Ryan?" The name escaped her lips before she could stop it. He stood slowly, peeling off the yellow gloves with the same deliberate care he brought to everything. He was taller than she remembered, broader through the shoulders, with the kind of lean strength that came from actual work rather than expensive gym memberships. His face had lost the softness of youth but gained something better: character, depth, weathered handsomeness that came from a life fully lived. "Celeste Davenport," he said, and the way he said her name made her feel like a person again, instead of a role she was playing. "I heard you own this place now." Mr. Patterson cleared his throat aggressively, face red with indignation. "Excuse me, but I'm a platinum member and I shouldn't have to tolerate this noise during my morning meditation practice. I specifically requested a quiet environment when I booked." Celeste tore her gaze away from Ryan, trying to remember how to be the hotel owner, the widow, the woman in charge. Mr. Patterson, I apologize for the disturbance. We'll have this resolved immediately. Perhaps we could offer you a complimentary spa treatment this afternoon? I don't want a spa treatment. I want peace and quiet, which is what I'm paying $800 a night for. Ryan had returned to his work, scrubbing the wine stain with focused attention. Celeste noticed how different he was from the maintenance workers she usually saw scurrying through the hotel's back corridors. There was a dignity in the way he moved, a quiet confidence that seemed completely unbothered by Mr. Patterson's tantrum or her presence. The stain is almost gone, sir, Ryan said calmly, not looking up from his work. Another 2 minutes, and you'll have your lobby back exactly as it was. I know meditation practice is important. Marcus Aurelius wrote that peace comes from within, not from external circumstances, but I understand that a quiet environment helps facilitate that inner work. Mr. Patterson's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Celeste felt a smile tugging at her lips for the first time in months. Leave it to Ryan to quote Roman philosophy while scrubbing floors. Well, Mr. Patterson sputtered. Yes, exactly. Marcus Aurelius. Very good. He turned and walked away, his indignation deflated by the unexpected wisdom from a man in a maintenance uniform. Celeste waited until the other guests had dispersed before approaching Ryan. He was putting away his cleaning supplies with the same careful attention, organizing bottles and brushes in his cart like they mattered, like the work mattered. Marcus Aurelius? She asked softly. Ryan looked up, and she saw a hint of the smile she remembered, the one that had made her 14-year-old heart race. The meditations are good for calming angry people, also for getting through long shifts. You'd be surprised how much Stoic philosophy applies to hotel maintenance work. You always did read everything you could get your hands on. Still do. Just now I read them during break time instead of during class. He stood, wiping his hands on a towel. Then a cough caught him, sudden and harsh. He turned away slightly, covering his mouth, and Celeste noticed how his shoulders tensed. When he looked back, he smiled like nothing had happened. Sorry, dust gets me sometimes. But something in the way he said it felt rehearsed, like an excuse he'd given before. You look good, Celeste. Different, but good. Different how? He studied her with those steady eyes that seemed to see past the expensive clothes and perfect makeup. Sadder, but maybe that's just life catching up with all of us. The honesty hurt and healed at the same time. Everyone else in her life told her she looked beautiful, stunning, perfect. Only Ryan dared to tell her the truth. I heard about your husband, Ryan continued. I'm sorry. That must have been devastating. Celeste wanted to tell him the truth, that Marcus's death had been tragic and terrible, but their marriage had been a strategic alliance arranged by her grandfather in his final months, a union of fortunes rather than hearts, that she had grieved the waste of a young life but hadn't mourned a great love. But those words seemed too heavy for a hotel lobby reunion. It was complicated, she said instead. What about you? What brings you to Miami? Last I heard, you were still in Charleston. Life happened. I moved here 3 years ago. Better opportunities, better schools for Hannah. Hannah? My daughter. She's 7. Ryan's entire face transformed when he mentioned her. Love radiating from every feature. Smartest kid you've ever met. Asks about 1,000 questions a day, and actually listens to the answers. Of course Ryan had a daughter. Of course he was the kind of father who lit up talking about her. Celeste felt something twist in her chest, an emotion she couldn't quite name. Envy. Longing. Grief for the path her life hadn't taken. Where's her mother? Celeste asked, then immediately regretted the question. I'm sorry. That's none of my business. It's okay, Hannah's mom died when she was 2. Car accident. Ryan's voice was steady, but Celeste heard the old grief beneath it, the kind that never quite goes away. It's been just the 2 of us for 5 years now. We make it work. Ryan, I'm so sorry. He shrugged, not dismissively, but with the acceptance of someone who had learned to carry loss. Hannah doesn't remember her, which is both a blessing and a sadness. She asks questions sometimes, wants to know about her mom. I tell her everything I can remember, try to keep those memories alive. I should let you get back to work, Celeste said, though everything in her wanted to keep standing there, keep talking to the one person in this building who felt real. Actually, I was about to take my break. There's a small courtyard out back where the staff eats lunch. Nothing fancy, but it's quiet and you can see the ocean. Ryan hesitated. If you wanted to talk more, I mean, catch up properly, but I understand if you're busy. Celeste should say no. The owner of the Melbrook Hotel didn't take breaks with maintenance workers. It would raise eyebrows, start rumors, complicate her carefully ordered life. But when she looked at Ryan, she saw a lifeline, a connection to a version of herself that existed before wealth and duty crushed every spontaneous impulse. "I'd like that," she said. The staff courtyard was everything Ryan had promised. A small oasis of green tucked between the main building and the service wing, invisible to guests but offering a slice of ocean view through a gap in the buildings. A few plastic chairs clustered around a weathered table, a struggling garden where someone had attempted to grow herbs. The sound of waves mixing with kitchen noise and laundry machines. Ryan produced 2 bottles of water from a small cooler and gestured to the chairs. "Welcome to my office." Celeste sat, feeling ridiculous in her designer outfit surrounded by industrial buildings and service equipment. But Ryan seemed completely at ease, like he belonged exactly where he was. "So," he said, 15 years, that's a long time. The last time I saw you was the summer before you moved away. You were 13 and I was 14. You had just beaten me at chess for the 10th time in a row and I swore I'd never play you again." Ryan laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "You broke that promise 3 days later. Demanded a rematch, said you'd figured out my strategy. Had I? No. But I let you win anyway because you looked so determined." "You let me win?" Celeste felt the same competitive fire she had back then. "Ryan Walker, that's cheating. That's kindness. There's a difference." His smile faded slightly. "That summer was one of the best of my life. Then things changed. Your family moved to Charleston. I remember." Celeste hesitated. "Did your dad find work there?" Ryan took a long drink of water, and Celeste saw something shift in his expression. "Eventually. Took him almost 2 years, though. We lived with my aunt in a 2-bedroom apartment. 6 of us in that tiny space." He paused. "You really don't know what happened, do you?" "What do you mean?" "The factory where my dad worked. Walker Manufacturing. They made components for hotel furniture and fixtures. Had contracts with hospitality companies up and down the East Coast." Ryan's voice was careful, controlled. "Someone bought them out, liquidated the whole operation, moved production overseas. 200 families lost everything overnight." Celeste felt her stomach drop. "When was this?" "Summer of 2010, that August." He met her eyes. "The company that bought them out was Davenport Holdings." The words hung in the air between them like smoke. Celeste couldn't breathe. "My grandfather," she whispered. "I didn't know if you knew. You were just a kid. We were both just kids." Ryan's voice was soft, not accusing, just stating facts. "My dad never recovered. He drank himself to death 5 years later from the shame of not being able to provide. My mom took 3 jobs to keep us fed. That's why I moved away, Celeste. Not because I wanted to." Celeste wanted to cry, to apologize, to somehow make amends for her grandfather's cruelty. But she knew that would be selfish, making Ryan comfort her for pain she hadn't even known she was causing. "I didn't know," she said finally. "I swear I didn't know. I believe you. Like I said, we were kids, but that history is still there. Your family's empire was built on decisions that destroyed families like mine. That's not simple to forget. Do you hate me?" "No." Ryan's answer was immediate. "I did for a while maybe, when I was younger and angrier, but I've made my peace with it. You didn't make those choices. You were just born into a system that benefits some people at the expense of others. But I'm still benefiting from it. Right now, this minute. I'm living in the palace built on the ruins of your father's life. Yes, and that's something you'll have to figure out how to live with." Ryan leaned forward. "But I didn't tell you this to make you feel guilty. I told you because if we're going to be honest with each other, we need to start with the truth. All of it." Celeste took a shaky breath. "What do you do in your free time? Besides reading Marcus Aurelius and raising a daughter?" "I work on motorcycles. Got a Harley Davidson I rebuilt myself, piece by piece. She's a 1985 model, blue as the ocean out there." His whole demeanor changed when he talked about the bike, like he was describing something sacred. "Took me 2 years to get her running right. I work on her most nights after Hannah goes to sleep. She's parked in the lot behind our building. Sometimes I take her out at dawn, before the city wakes up, just me and the road and the sound of that engine. It's the only time I feel completely free. You always loved taking things apart and figuring out how they worked. Still do. There's something honest about mechanical work. You can see the problem, understand the solution, fix it with your own hands." He paused. "Not like people who are complicated and contradictory and impossible to figure out." "Am I impossible to figure out?" Ryan looked at her for a long moment. "No. You're sad and lonely and trying very hard to pretend you're not. You're wearing your wedding ring even though I'd bet everything I own your marriage wasn't the love story everyone thinks it was. You came down to handle a guest complaint yourself because you were desperate for something to do, some problem small enough to actually solve. And seeing me scared you because I remember the version of you that existed before all of this, and that's the most dangerous kind of person to have around when you're trying to forget who you used to be. Celeste felt her breath catch. You should have been a psychologist. Can't afford the education for that. He smiled slightly. Your turn. What do you do when you're not running a hotel empire? I don't know anymore. The admission came out before Celeste could stop it. I swim laps in my pool. I attend charity galas I don't care about. I have lunch with people I don't particularly like. I go to sleep in a bed that's too big and wake up every morning wondering if this is really my life or if I'm still waiting for it to actually begin. That sounds exhausting. It is. Celeste realized she had never said these things out loud before. I inherited everything at 21. The hotel, the properties, the money, the board of directors who treat me like a child playing dress-up. Marcus was 35 when we got married. My grandfather arranged it, said it would secure the Davenport legacy. I said yes because I didn't know how to say no. Did you love him? I tried to. He was kind enough in his way, but he loved the Davenport name more than he ever loved me. When he died, I felt guilty that my main emotion was relief. Celeste looked at her hands, at the ring that no longer meant anything. That makes me a terrible person, doesn't it? No, it makes you human. Ryan reached across the table and gently touched her hand just for a moment. You've been through a lot, Celeste. Give yourself permission to feel what you feel. Before she could respond, a small voice called out from the service entrance. Daddy, Daddy, you forgot your lunch. A little girl burst into the courtyard, wearing a yellow sundress and white sneakers, hair flying behind her. She carried a paper bag clutched in both hands, her face serious with the importance of her mission. Hannibal Walker, what are you doing here? Ryan stood quickly, concern and love mixing in his expression. You're supposed to be at summer day camp. Mrs. Rodriguez said I could leave early because I finished all my activities and I told her you forgot your lunch, so she called me a cab and I came to bring it to you. Hannah said this all in one breath, then noticed Celeste. Oh, hello. Are you a princess? You're very pretty. Celeste couldn't help but smile. Thank you. I like your dress. Yellow is a beautiful color. It's my favorite. I also like pink, but Daddy says I can't wear pink every single day even though I want to. Hannah turned to Ryan. Is this your friend? Does she work here too? This is Celeste. We knew each other a long time ago when we were kids. Ryan took the lunch bag from his daughter, and Celeste noticed him wince slightly, like the simple movement hurt. He covered it quickly. Thank you for bringing this, sweetheart. But you can't just leave camp whenever you want. We'll need to talk about that later. But you need to eat. You always tell me breakfast is important, but lunch is important too, and you forgot yours at home, so I had to bring it. You need your strength, remember? That's what Dr. Martinez said. Hannah, Ryan's voice held a gentle warning, and something passed between father and daughter. Some silent communication that made Hannah's mouth snap shut. Okay, Daddy. I remember. Secret. She turned to Celeste with exaggerated seriousness. Adults have lots of secrets. That's what makes them boring sometimes. Celeste watched this exchange with growing curiosity, but she didn't press. Everyone had secrets. God knew she had enough of her own. Hannah, why don't you sit down for a minute while I introduce you properly to my friend, Ryan said. Celeste, this is Hannah Bell, who is 7 years old, smarter than me, and has never met a rule she didn't want to negotiate. Pleased to meet you, Hannah Bell. Celeste held out her hand formally and Hannah shook it with exaggerated seriousness. Pleased to meet you too, Celeste. That's a fancy name. Are you rich? You look rich. Those shoes probably cost more than our whole apartment. Hannah! Ryan's voice held gentle reproach. We don't talk about money like that. Why not? Mrs. Rodriguez says being curious is good, and I'm curious about rich people because we're not rich and I want to know what it's like. Hannah climbed into a chair and swung her legs. Do you have a big house? Do you have a swimming pool? Yes to both, Celeste admitted. But they don't make me happy. Why not? I think having a swimming pool would make me very happy. I love swimming, but we only get to go to the public pool on Saturdays. Sometimes having everything you want makes it hard to figure out what you actually need. Hannah considered this seriously. That sounds complicated. Daddy says life is complicated, but ice cream is simple, and that's why ice cream is important. Your daddy is a very wise man. I know. He knows lots of things. He reads me stories every night and answers all my questions even when he's tired. Hannah looked at her father with pure adoration, then her face turned worried. Even when he's really tired and his medicine makes him sleepy. Hannah Bell. Ryan's voice was firmer now. Sorry, Daddy. Hannah turned back to Celeste. Can you come to dinner at our house? Daddy says we should share food with friends and you're his friend from when you were kids. Ryan looked trapped between politeness and something else. Something Celeste couldn't quite read. Hannah, Celeste is very busy. She owns this whole hotel. She probably has important meetings. Do you? Hannah turned those bright eyes on Celeste. Do you have important meetings tonight? Celeste thought about her empty penthouse, the silence waiting for her. Another evening of swimming laps while the sun set over an ocean she barely noticed anymore. No, she said. No important meetings. Then you should come. We're having spaghetti. Daddy makes the best spaghetti in the world. Hannah, I don't think… Ryan started. I'd love to, Celeste interrupted. She saw surprise in Ryan's face, followed by something that might have been pleasure mixed with hesitation. It's not imposing if I invited you, Hannah said firmly. Right, Daddy? That's what invited means. Ryan met Celeste's eyes over his daughter's head. She saw the question there, the uncertainty, and something else. Wariness, maybe. Or fear. This was crossing a line and they both knew it. Okay, Ryan said slowly. Dinner at our place. 6 o'clock. Fair warning. The apartment is small, and the elevator doesn't always work, and the neighborhood isn't fancy. That sounds perfect, Celeste said, and meant it. Hannah clapped her hands with delight. This is the best day. I brought Daddy his lunch, and I made a new friend. Wait until I tell Mrs. Rodriguez. Ryan walked Hannah back to the service entrance to call her a cab back to day camp, leaving Celeste alone in the courtyard. She looked at her hands, at the wedding ring she still wore, at the phone full of messages about meetings and decisions and problems that somehow felt less real than the conversation she had just had with a 7-year-old girl. When Ryan returned, he sat down across from her again, and this time the easy comfort was gone. He looked uncertain, almost defensive. You don't have to come tonight, he said. Hannah gets excited and invites everyone she meets to everything. Last week she invited the mailman to her birthday party. I want to come. Celeste surprised herself with how much she meant it. Unless you don't want me to. I don't know what I want. Ryan ran his hand through his hair. 5 minutes ago you didn't know your grandfather destroyed my family. Now you're coming to dinner at my apartment. This is moving fast and I'm not sure either of us has thought it through. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe I've been thinking too much for too long. Or maybe you're looking for a way to feel less guilty about where your money comes from. The words stung because they might be partly true. Is that what you think? I don't know what to think. Yesterday I was just the maintenance guy. Today I'm your childhood friend with a dead father and a tragic backstory. Tomorrow what? Your charity project? That's not fair, isn't it? Ryan stood up, pacing the small courtyard. Look, I'm not angry at you, Celeste. I meant that. But I'm also not naive enough to think this is simple. You're Celeste Davenport. I'm Ryan Walker. Those names come with history, and history doesn't just disappear because we want it to. So what are you saying? That we can't even try to be friends? I'm saying I don't know if I can trust this. Trust us. Trust that you won't wake up tomorrow and remember who you are and who I am and decide this was a mistake. Celeste stood up, facing him. Then let me prove it. Let me come to dinner. Let me show you I'm not just looking for absolution or a project or whatever you think this is. I'm looking for something real, Ryan. Maybe the only real thing I've had in years. They stood there, inches apart, the air between them charged with everything unsaid. Finally, Ryan nodded. 6 o'clock, but Celeste? Don't come if you're not sure. Hannah gets attached easily. I can handle disappointment. She shouldn't have to. I'll be there, Celeste promised. She stood, suddenly aware that she had been gone from her penthouse for over an hour. Text me your address. You still have the same number? Everything in my life has changed except my phone number. Weird, right? Not weird. Human. We hold on to what we can. Ryan pulled a business card from his pocket. The apartment is in Little Havana. Like I said, not fancy. I don't want fancy. I have fancy. Fancy is slowly killing me. Celeste took the card, her fingers brushing his. 6 o'clock, I'll bring dessert. You don't have to. I want to. It's been a long time since I had something to look forward to. Walking back through the hotel, Celeste felt different, lighter somehow, despite the weight of the history Ryan had revealed. Staff members nodded as she passed. Guests smiled. Everything looked exactly as it had 2 hours ago, but she had changed. Or maybe she was finally remembering who she used to be. In her penthouse, she looked at her closet full of expensive clothes, and realized she had no idea what to wear to dinner at a small apartment in Little Havana. Everything she owned screamed wealth and privilege. Finally, she chose simple jeans and a white linen shirt, the most normal things she possessed. She called her driver and asked him to pick up a cake from the best bakery in Miami, then immediately called back and changed the order to a simple grocery store cake. She didn't want to show up with something that cost $100. The afternoon dragged by. Celeste tried to focus on emails and reports but found herself reading the same paragraph 5 times. She thought about Ryan's father, about the factory closing, about all the invisible ways wealth destroyed lives. Her grandfather had never talked about his business decisions in human terms. It was always about profits and markets and strategic positioning. At 5:30, she changed clothes 3 times before settling on her original choice. At 5:40, she stood in front of her mirror and almost lost her nerve. What was she doing? Ryan was right. This was complicated, messy, maybe even doomed. She was the granddaughter of the man who destroyed his family. What kind of foundation was that for any relationship, friendship, or otherwise? She picked up her phone to text Ryan that she couldn't make it, that something had come up, that this was all moving too fast. Her finger hovered over the send button. Then she thought about the emptiness of her penthouse, the silence that would greet her tonight and every night, the endless parade of days that felt like she was sleepwalking through someone else's life. She thought about the way Ryan had looked at her in the courtyard, the way he had said her name, the way 15 years had collapsed into nothing when their eyes met. She put the phone down. At 5:50, she was in her car with the simple chocolate cake on the seat beside her, following GPS directions to an address in Little Havana. Her heart pounded. Her hands were sweaty on the steering wheel. This was either the bravest or stupidest thing she'd done in years. Ryan's building was a 4-story walk-up, painted in fading yellow, with laundry hanging from balconies and children playing in the small courtyard. It was the kind of place she had driven past 1,000 times without really seeing. Now she parked her Mercedes on the street, grabbed the cake, and climbed stairs that smelled like cooking spices and someone's perfume. Ryan opened the door on her first knock, wearing jeans and a simple gray t-shirt, his feet bare. Behind him, she could see a small living room that was immaculately clean despite being furnished with thrift store finds and hand-me-downs. Books lined makeshift shelves. A child's drawings covered the refrigerator. Through an archway, she could see a tiny kitchen where something bubbled on the stove. "You came," he said, and she heard genuine surprise in his voice along with something that might have been relief. "I said I would." Celeste held up the cake. "Chocolate okay?" "Chocolate is perfect. Hannah will lose her mind." Ryan stepped aside to let her in, and as she passed, she caught the faint scent of engine oil mixed with laundry detergent. "Welcome to our home." It was the smallest living space Celeste had been in since childhood, but somehow it felt more like a home than her penthouse ever had. There was life here. Hannah's toys organized in a basket, library books stacked on the coffee table, a puzzle half finished on the floor, photos stuck to the walls with tape instead of expensive frames. "Celeste!" Hannah came running from what must be her bedroom, still wearing the yellow dress. "You're really here? Daddy said you might be too busy, but I knew you'd come because you said you would, and I'm a good judger of people." "I think the word is judge, sweetheart," Ryan said gently. "Judge. Judger. It should be judger because it's someone who judges." Hannah took Celeste's hand. "Come see my room. I cleaned it special for you." Celeste let herself be pulled down a short hallway to a room barely big enough for a twin bed and a small dresser, but Hannah had made it her kingdom. More drawings covered the walls. Books spilled from a plastic crate. A collection of rocks and shells lined the windowsill, each one labeled in careful 7-year-old handwriting. "This is my library," Hannah said proudly, pointing to the crate of books. "Daddy takes me to the real library every Saturday, and I can check out 5 books each time. I like books about animals and space and magic. What do you like to read?" "I used to read everything," Celeste said, "but I haven't read much lately. I've been too busy." "That's sad. Reading is important. Daddy says books are windows to other worlds and we should look through as many windows as we can." "Your daddy is right." They returned to the living room where Ryan was setting the small dining table with mismatched plates and glasses. "Dinner in 5 minutes. Hannah, can you show Celeste where to wash her hands?" The bathroom was tiny but spotless, with a rubber duck on the edge of the tub and toothbrushes in a cup on the sink. Celeste washed her hands with soap that smelled like lavender and looked at herself in the small mirror. Her reflection looked different here, softer somehow, less like a CEO and more like a person. Dinner was spaghetti with meat sauce, a simple green salad, and garlic bread that Ryan had made from scratch. It was delicious in a way that expensive restaurant meals never were, full of flavor and care and the specific magic that comes from food made with love for people who matter. "This is amazing," Celeste said, twirling pasta on her fork. Hannah wasn't exaggerating. "This really might be the best spaghetti I've ever had." "Daddy's secret ingredient is oregano from Mrs. Chen's garden and love," Hannah announced. "He says food made with love always tastes better." Smart Daddy. The smartest. Except when he tries to do my hair. Then he's not so smart. But he's trying, and that's what matters. Ryan laughed, reaching over to adjust Hannah's slightly crooked ponytail. "I'm working on my hair skills. It's harder than motorcycle engines." They talked through dinner about small things. Hannah's day at camp, the book she was reading, a seashell she had found at the beach last weekend. Celeste found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years, laughing at Hannah's observations about the world, trading looks with Ryan across the table that felt like their own private language. But she also noticed other things. The way Ryan occasionally pressed his hand to his chest, subtle enough that Hannah didn't seem to notice. The bottle of prescription medication on the kitchen counter that he quickly moved when he thought Celeste wasn't looking. The way he sometimes paused mid-sentence like he was catching his breath. After dinner, Hannah insisted on showing Celeste her ocean collection, the shells and rocks from the windowsill, each one with its own story. "This one is from the first time Daddy took me to the beach after we moved here. This one I found the day I lost my first tooth. This one is special because it's shaped like a heart and hearts mean love." "You're a wonderful collector," Celeste said, "and an excellent storyteller." "Thank you. When I grow up, I want to be a scientist who studies the ocean. Daddy says I can be anything I work hard enough to be." "He's right." Ryan appeared in the doorway. "Bath time, Hannah. You've got school camp tomorrow and it's already past your bedtime." "But Celeste just got here." "Celeste will still be here when you're ready for your bedtime story." "Go on." "I laid out your pajamas." Hannah reluctantly obeyed, but not before hugging Celeste tightly. "You're nice." "I'm glad Daddy has a friend who's nice and pretty and likes his spaghetti." Alone in the small living room, Celeste and Ryan stood awkwardly for a moment. The easy conversation of dinner felt harder without Hannah's chatter filling the spaces. "Thank you for coming," Ryan said finally. "I wasn't sure you would, especially after our conversation this afternoon." "Neither was I, but I'm glad I did." Celeste moved to the bookshelf, studying the titles. "You still read everything. It's cheap entertainment and the library doesn't care if you're poor. Plus, it's important for Hannah to see me reading. I want her to love books the way we did." "The way we did?" Celeste repeated softly. "Sometimes I forget that version of myself existed. The girl who stayed up all night reading, who had opinions about everything, who thought the world was full of possibilities. What happened to her? She got buried under expectations and responsibilities. She married a man she didn't love because her grandfather said it was her duty. She inherited a fortune she didn't earn and didn't particularly want. She woke up one day in a palace and realized she had everything except a reason to care about any of it." Ryan moved closer, close enough that Celeste could smell the faint scent of engine oil and laundry detergent that seemed to be his signature. "It's not too late to find her again. That girl, she's still in there." "How do you know?" "Because she showed up here tonight. She let a 7-year-old girl drag her around a tiny apartment and talk her ear off about seashells. She ate spaghetti at a card table and looked happier than I've seen anyone look in a long time. Maybe she was just pretending." "You were never good at pretending, Celeste. That was always your problem. You felt everything too deeply, cared too much, wore your heart on your sleeve. I'm guessing that's why you've been trying so hard to feel nothing at all." The accuracy of his observation made Celeste's eyes sting with tears. "It's exhausting, feeling nothing. I thought it would be easier, but it's actually harder." "Ready for my story, Daddy?" Hannah's voice called from her room. Ryan touched Celeste's arm gently. "Stay, please. Hannah would love for you to hear her favorite story." They crowded into Hannah's tiny room, Ryan sitting on the edge of her bed while Celeste settled on the floor, her back against the wall. Ryan read from a worn copy of Charlotte's Web, doing different voices for each character, making Hannah giggle with his impression of Templeton the rat. Celeste watched them and felt something crack open in her chest. This was what she had been missing without even knowing it. The simple beauty of ordinary life, of a father reading to his daughter, of love expressed in daily rituals rather than grand gestures. When Hannah's eyes grew heavy, Ryan kissed her forehead and turned off the light, leaving only the glow of a small nightlight shaped like a star. Celeste followed him back to the living room, acutely aware that she should probably leave, but desperately not wanting to. "Thank you for letting me be part of that," she said. "It was beautiful. That's just normal life. Nothing special. Maybe that's what makes it special." They sat on the old couch, a careful distance between them but close enough to feel the connection humming in the air. Ryan picked up a small wooden box from the coffee table and opened it, revealing chess pieces carved from what looked like driftwood. "I made these," he said. "Spent about 6 months working on them during Hannah's nap times when she was little. I remembered how we used to play." "You kept thinking about chess? About us?" "Not really. I set up problems sometimes, work through strategies, but it's not as fun without an opponent." He began setting up the board. "Want to play for old time's sake?" "I'm probably terrible now." Only one way to find out. They played in comfortable silence, the sound of traffic outside mixing with the ticking of a clock on the wall. Celeste was rusty, but Ryan was patient, not gloating when he captured her pieces, giving her time to think through each move. "I wasn't lying earlier," Ryan said as he moved his knight. "When I said seeing you again scared me. Why does it scare you?" "Because for 15 years, I've had you in a specific place in my memory. The girl I knew that summer, frozen in time, perfect and untouchable. But you're real now, sitting in my living room, and I'm remembering why I couldn't stop thinking about you even after we were separated." Celeste's hand hovered over her queen. "Ryan, I'm not saying this to make things complicated. I know the situation is impossible. You're my boss, technically. You're from a world I'll never be part of. Your grandfather destroyed my father's life. There are about 1,000 reasons why this is a bad idea. Then why are you saying it? Because I spent too many years not saying true things, trying to be what other people needed me to be. Hannah's mother married me because she was pregnant and it was the right thing to do. We tried to make it work, but we were never really in love. When she died, I promised myself I'd never settle for less than truth again." He paused, seeming to weigh his next words. "And the truth is, I'm drawn to you the same way I was when we were kids. Maybe more, even though it's complicated. Even though I don't know if I have any right to feel this way. Why wouldn't you have the right?" He looked at her, and something in his expression made Celeste's breath catch. "Because life is uncertain, Celeste. More uncertain than you might think. And I've learned the hard way that you can't make promises about the future when you don't know what the future holds." "What does that mean?" "It means sometimes you have to be honest about what you feel in the moment, even if the moment is all you might have." Before Celeste could ask what he meant, her phone buzzed insistently in her purse. She pulled it out to see her assistant's name flashing on the screen along with 5 missed calls. "I'm sorry, I should take this," she answered. "Maria, what's wrong?" "Mrs. Davenport, thank God. There's been an incident at the hotel. Mr. Patterson fell in his suite and he's threatening to sue. The paramedics are here, but he's refusing treatment until he speaks with you. I'm so sorry to interrupt your evening, but he's being extremely difficult." Celeste closed her eyes, reality crashing back. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. She ended the call and looked at Ryan apologetically. "I have to go, guest emergency." "Of course." He stood, walking her to the door. "Thank you for coming tonight. It meant a lot to Hannah, to both of us. Thank you for letting me in." Celeste hesitated at the door, then turned back. "Ryan, that thing you said about being honest in the moment? About not knowing what the future holds? Yeah, I feel it too, whatever this is. And I'm scared too. But maybe being scared together is better than being safe and alone." She stood on her toes and kissed his cheek, feeling the warmth of his skin, the slight stubble of his jaw. "Come to the hotel Saturday morning. Early. Bring Hannah. I want to take you both somewhere." "Where?" "It's a surprise. But wear clothes you don't mind getting dirty." She smiled. "And Ryan, bring your Harley. I've always wanted to ride on a motorcycle." She saw surprise flash across his face, followed by something that looked like joy mixed with pain. "Celeste. Saturday, 7 a.m. Don't make me wait 15 more years." Celeste drove back to the Melbrook with her heart pounding and her mind spinning. She dealt with Mr. Patterson's demands, soothed his ego, arranged for a doctor to check him over, and upgraded him to a suite with an ocean view. She signed papers and made decisions and did everything required of her role. But part of her was still in that small apartment, playing chess with a man who saw through her defenses, eating spaghetti at a card table, listening to a 7-year-old girl talk about seashells like they were treasures. Part of her was remembering what it felt like to be human instead of just wealthy. In her penthouse at midnight, Celeste finally took off her wedding ring and placed it in the drawer of her nightstand. It felt like a declaration, a decision, a step toward something she couldn't yet name but desperately wanted to find. She fell asleep thinking about driftwood chess pieces and yellow sundresses, and the way Ryan's voice softened when he read to his daughter. She fell asleep thinking about the medication bottle he had hidden, about Hannah's worried comments, about the careful way he sometimes moved like something hurt. She fell asleep thinking about Saturday morning and a blue Harley Davidson, and a man who had quoted Marcus Aurelius while scrubbing floors, who had every reason to hate her but chose honesty instead. She fell asleep feeling something she hadn't felt in years, hope mixed with fear, possibility mixed with uncertainty, and the terrifying, exhilarating sense that her carefully controlled life was about to become beautifully, dangerously unpredictable. Saturday morning arrived with golden light spilling across Miami Beach. Celeste stood in the hotel parking lot at 6:45, wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She felt like a teenager sneaking out for adventure, not a 23-year-old widow who owned the building behind her. The rumble of Ryan's Harley announced his arrival before she saw him. The motorcycle was exactly as he described, a 1985 beauty painted ocean blue, chrome gleaming in the early light. Ryan sat astride it wearing a black leather jacket and jeans, with Hannah perched behind him in a bright pink helmet that was comically oversized on her small head. "You came," Celeste said as Ryan killed the engine. "You asked." He swung off the bike with the easy grace of someone who'd been riding for years, then helped Hannah down. "Though I'm still not sure what this surprise is. You'll see. But first," Celeste crouched in front of Hannah. "How do you feel about boats?" Hannah's eyes went wide. "Boats? Real boats on the ocean? The biggest, most beautiful yacht you've ever seen. It belonged to my husband. I haven't used it since he died, but I thought maybe today we could take it out. Just the three of us." Ryan's expression shifted to something between surprise and concern. "Celeste, that's incredibly generous, but we can't—" "Yes, you can, please. The boat just sits there gathering dust. It should be used. It should have people on it who actually want to be there." Celeste stood, meeting Ryan's eyes. "Let me do this. Not because I'm trying to buy anything or prove anything. Just because I want to share something beautiful with people I care about." Something in Ryan's face softened. "Okay. But only if you let me cook lunch, fair trade. Deal." The yacht was moored at the hotel's private marina, a sleek 60-footer that Marcus had named Legacy. Celeste had always hated the name, the way it reduced everything to inheritance and obligation. But today, with Hannah's delighted squeals echoing across the deck and Ryan's quiet appreciation as he examined the craftsmanship, the boat felt different, like it was finally serving its purpose. They motored out past the breakwater, leaving Miami behind. Ryan took the wheel with Celeste's permission, his hands confident on the controls. Hannah sat at the bow, face tilted toward the sun, arms spread wide like she was trying to hug the ocean. "This is the best day of my whole life," Hannah shouted over the engine noise. Celeste settled beside Ryan in the cockpit. "Thank you for coming, for trusting me. Thank you for inviting us." Ryan glanced at her, then back at the water. "This is surreal. 3 days ago I was scrubbing your lobby floor. Now I'm steering your yacht. It's not about the yacht or the hotel or any of that. It's about—" Celeste struggled for words. "It's about feeling alive again. You and Hannah remind me what that feels like." They anchored in a quiet cove, the water crystal clear and impossibly blue. Hannah wanted to swim immediately, so Ryan helped her into a life jacket while Celeste found towels and snacks. The morning passed in a blur of laughter and sunshine, Hannah splashing in the shallows while Ryan and Celeste sat on the deck, their feet dangling in the water. "Can I ask you something?" Celeste said after a long, comfortable silence. "Always. That thing you said the other night about not knowing what the future holds, about being honest in the moment." She turned to face him. "What did you mean?" Ryan was quiet for so long Celeste thought he wouldn't answer. Finally he said, "I have stage 3 lymphoma." The words hit Celeste like a physical blow. The world tilted sideways. "What?" "I was diagnosed 8 months ago. The doctors give me maybe a year, possibly less. I've been doing treatment, but—" He gestured vaguely. "It's not working as well as they hoped." "Ryan." Celeste couldn't breathe. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I just found you again after 15 years. And I didn't want our reunion to be about my dying. Because you've already lost enough people. Because I'm tired of being defined by my illness." He looked at her with those steady eyes. "Because for a few days I wanted to just be Ryan, the guy who makes spaghetti and fixes motorcycles and plays chess, not Ryan the terminal patient." "Does Hannah know?" "She knows I'm sick." She doesn't know how sick. She's 7, Celeste. How do you tell a 7-year-old that her daddy is dying? His voice cracked slightly. She's already lost her mother. Now she's going to lose me too. Celeste felt tears streaming down her face. There has to be something. Better doctors, experimental treatments. With what money? Ryan's laugh was bitter. Do you know what cancer treatment costs? I've already burned through my savings. The hotel insurance covers the basics, but anything experimental or cutting edge? That's hundreds of thousands of dollars I don't have. So I work as many shifts as I can while I still can. I save every penny for Hannah's future, and I try to give her as many good memories as possible before. He stopped, unable to finish. I'll pay for it. The words came out fierce. Certain. Whatever it costs. The best doctors, the best treatment centers, everything. No. Ryan. I said no, Celeste. He turned to face her fully. I won't be your charity case. I won't be the dying man you saved to absolve yourself of your grandfather's sins. That's not what this is. That's not what we are. That's not what I'm doing, isn't it? You're feeling guilty about the factory, about my father, about all the damage your family's wealth has caused, and here I am, convenient and dying. The perfect opportunity for redemption. Ryan's voice was hard now, defensive. I won't be used like that. I have too much pride and too little time. Before Celeste could respond, Hannah's voice called out from the water. Daddy, Daddy, come swim with me, please. Ryan stood, but Celeste saw him wince, saw the way he pressed his hand to his ribs. The cough that followed was harsh and wet, nothing like the polite clearing of his throat from earlier in the week. I'm coming, sweetheart, he called, forcing brightness into his voice. Celeste watched him ease himself into the water, watched Hannah splash toward him with complete trust and joy, watched this dying man pretend to be fine for his daughter's sake. Her heart was breaking and raging at the same time. The afternoon turned tense. Ryan avoided being alone with Celeste, staying close to Hannah, deflecting any serious conversation with jokes or activity. When they returned to the marina, he helped secure the boat with mechanical efficiency, his face closed off. Thank you for today, he said formally as they stood beside his Harley. Hannah had a wonderful time. Ryan, please, we need to talk about... There's nothing to talk about. He lifted Hannah onto the bike. I told you, because you deserve to know the truth, but that doesn't change anything. I'm still dying. You're still grieving. And mixing those two things up is a recipe for disaster. Is that what you think this is? Me confusing grief with something else? I don't know what to think anymore. Ryan straddled the Harley, his hands gripping the handlebars like a lifeline. Maybe we moved too fast. Maybe I never should have invited you to dinner. Maybe... Daddy? Hannah's small voice interrupted. Are you mad at Celeste? No, sweetheart, I'm just tired. You're always tired now. Hannah's voice was small, frightened. Is it getting worse? Is that why you're sad? Ryan closed his eyes briefly. I'm okay, Hannah-Belle. I promise. But Celeste saw the lie, saw the fear in Hannah's face, saw the weight of all these secrets crushing them both. Before she could stop herself, she said, Ryan, take me for a ride on your Harley. He looked at her in surprise. What? You said it makes you feel free. The only time you feel completely free. Celeste moved closer. Take me with you. Show me what that feels like, please. For a long moment, Ryan just stared at her. Then incredibly, he smiled. A real smile. Sad but genuine. Hannah, can you wait in the hotel lobby for a few minutes? I'll be right back. You're going to take Celeste on your motorcycle? Hannah's fear transformed into excitement. That's so cool. Can I watch? Just for a little while. We won't go far. Celeste climbed onto the Harley behind Ryan, her arms wrapping around his waist. She felt the warmth of him, the lean strength, the slight tremor in his body that might have been the engine, or might have been something else. Hold on tight, Ryan said, and then they were moving. The world blurred into sensation, wind and speed and the roar of the engine. Ryan navigated through Miami streets with practiced ease, heading toward the highway. When they hit open road, he opened up the throttle, and the Harley surged forward like a living thing. Celeste understood immediately what he meant about freedom. Up here, nothing else mattered. Not cancer or death or impossible situations. Just this moment, this speed, this feeling of being alive and present, and completely, utterly real. Ryan took them north along the coast highway, the ocean a ribbon of blue beside them. Finally, he pulled off at a scenic overlook and killed the engine. The sudden silence was profound. This is where I come when I need to think, he said, when the diagnosis gets too heavy, or Hannah asks questions I don't know how to answer. Celeste climbed off the bike, her legs shaky. Thank you for bringing me here. Thank you for asking. Ryan stayed on the Harley, staring out at the ocean. I'm sorry I snapped at you earlier. About the money, about treatment, I can't be somebody's project, Celeste. Even yours. Especially yours. What if it's not about that? Celeste moved to stand in front of him. What if it's about the fact that I'm falling in love with you and I can't stand the thought of losing you when I just found you again? Ryan's eyes widened. Celeste, I know it's fast. I know it's complicated and messy and probably crazy. But it's true. Celeste felt tears on her face again but didn't wipe them away. And yes, maybe part of me wants to fix this because I can't fix what my grandfather did. But mostly I just want more time with you. More dinners and chess games and moments like this. Is that so wrong? No. Ryan's voice was rough, but wanting something doesn't make it possible. Then help me make it possible. Let me help you fight this. Not because you're a charity case, but because people who care about each other help each other. That's what love is, Ryan. Letting people in. Letting them fight for you when you're too tired to fight for yourself. Ryan was silent for a long time. Then, there's something else you need to know. He pulled a manila envelope from inside his jacket. I found these in my father's things after he died. Documents, contracts, internal memos. Proof that your grandfather didn't just shut down the factory, he sabotaged it first. Poisoned contracts. Spread rumors to other companies that we were unreliable. Made sure my father could never find work in the industry again. It was deliberate destruction, Celeste. Calculated and cruel. Celeste took the envelope with shaking hands. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve to know the full truth about your family's legacy. Because if we're going to do this, whatever this is, it has to be built on complete honesty. Ryan met her eyes. Your grandfather didn't just make a business decision. He systematically destroyed my family because my father once had the audacity to negotiate for better wages. It was personal, vindictive, and vicious. Celeste opened the envelope, scanning documents that confirmed everything Ryan said. Her grandfather's handwriting in the margins, notes about making examples, about crushing dissent. She felt sick. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I know, but sorry doesn't change what happened. Ryan took the envelope back. The question is, what do we do now? Do we let the past define us, or do we choose something different? I want to choose something different. Celeste looked up at him. I want to use my money and privilege to make amends, not just to you, but to all the families my grandfather hurt. I want to be better than he was, and I want to fight this cancer, even if it's a long shot, for Hannah, for me. Ryan paused, and maybe for us. So we try. Despite everything? Despite everything. Ryan pulled her close, his forehead resting against hers. But Celeste, I can't promise you a future. I might have months or weeks or days, that's the reality. Then we make the most of whatever time we have. Celeste kissed him softly, tasting salt and hope and fear all mixed together. Starting right now. They rode back to the hotel as the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. Hannah was waiting in the lobby, and when she saw them together, Ryan's arm around Celeste's shoulders, both of them smiling despite tear-stained faces, she ran to them with open arms. Are you happy now, Daddy? Hannah asked, hugging them both. Yes, sweetheart. I'm happy. Good. Because Celeste makes you smile the way you used to smile before you got sick. And I like it when you smile like that. Later that night, after Ryan and Hannah had gone home, Celeste sat in her penthouse with the manila envelope spread across her coffee table. She made calls to lawyers, to accountants, to family friends who could help her trace the other victims of her grandfather's cruelty. She set up a foundation to help families affected by corporate downsizing. She researched the best oncologists in the world and made appointments for Ryan whether he liked it or not. She chose to fight, for justice, for love, for the possibility that sometimes, even in the darkest circumstances, hope can find a way. And 3 months later, when Ryan's treatment started showing results, when Hannah ran into Celeste's arms calling her almost mommy, when the three of them took the Harley out for a sunset ride along the coast, Celeste understood what her grandfather never had, that real wealth isn't measured in dollars or property or power. Real wealth is measured in moments like these, imperfect, uncertain, but blazing with life and love and the courage to keep fighting for tomorrow, even when tomorrow isn't guaranteed.